Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome to another week of Coffee Reflections. For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin. I am a certified life transformation and wellness coach. I'm also a mindset coach. The point of these coffee reflections, if you weren't here for the last episode, is I take a jar of what I've accumulated over the last year or so of just small aha moments, quotes that move me, or lessons that I learned in my personal life. And what I do is I'm going to take a random piece of the paper out of the jar in front of you. I'm going to show the camera. I'm going to read the reflection, and then we'll take a few minutes to just dive into what it means or what it meant to me in the moment and how any of us can apply this to our lives practically. Because I believe that reflection is such an important part of life transformation. It really takes time to just pause in the midst of the chaotic world we live in, the fast-paced world that we live in. If you're anything like me, you've noticed how this world has become very just reactive, action-driven, where it's very rare that people just take a second to slow down and just pause. And so hopefully with the coffee reflections in this series, as I continue to grow, it will help not only myself, but it'll help the listener to take a moment to pause and turn some of your chaos into clarity. With that being said, let's get into the reflection for today. I also got my coffee here today. Can't forget to put that in the camera. So let's have a cup of coffee together. Let's take a little time to pause and reflect, and hopefully we can have a good rest of our week. I also need to stop doing that because I noticed in my video, the last video, that it looks like I'm doing some not so kid friendly things to this jar. So I don't know if I have to get a bigger jar or what, but I gotta stop putting my fingers in it like that because that's just nasty. This one's a little bit more personal driven. This one says to reverse engineer your weaknesses, find qualifications as if you are a job seeker, and then do that. So reverse engineer your weaknesses, find qualifications as if you're a job seeker, and then do that. If you hear a cat in the background, that is Binks. He can't settle, and he meows and howls at the moon. I don't know. All right, so reverse engineering weaknesses and find qualifications as if you're a job seeker, and then do that. So this applied to me when I first made this conscious decision to become a life transformation coach. At that time, it really wasn't about life transformation. I didn't really know what kind of coach I wanted to be. All I knew is that I have a lot of experience, personal life experience with adversities and some struggles, and how I've been able to turn them from struggles into strengths for myself. And that goes back to, I've been through a really bad drug addiction where I came from, not only pills and Xanax and things like that, but also it turned into an unfortunate heroin addiction a long time ago. On top of that, I've also suffered from numerous job losses. And in this case, I actually suffered from the most recent job loss last year from a career that I had been building for almost 6 years in corporate America. So at that time, I was pretty bitter. And I just said, F it, I want to find something that I think I can bring value to for other people. And over the years, I've had many friends and family members telling me that you should be a coach or a mentor or just teach people how to succeed in life. And I think that life coaching gets a bad rap. And so part of me is a little egotistical where I aim to change that. Because I feel like if you go out there and if you search life coach, it's just nothing but fluff, it's nothing but bullshit, or it's just a bunch of unqualified children, with respect to life coaches everywhere, that don't have real experience and they just put the name coach as their title. In order to reverse engineer my weaknesses and find qualifications, I took a step back and I started to apply journaling, and I started to apply just writing down. And journaling is such a term that I think it's just a buzzword that people just get cringy about. But journaling is almost like prayer, right? There's no right or wrong way to journal. There's techniques, there's frameworks that you can use, but the way I used it when I was reverse engineering my weaknesses is I first started with kind of a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so I started to apply that to my personal life at the time. And so I started thinking, okay, so strengths, I believe I have a strength in communication. I believe I have a strength in marketing, and I believe I have a strength in really enlightening and awakening certain creativity and qualities in people that they don't realize that they have, to try to help you see a different light, a different version of yourself that could be successful. As far as weaknesses were concerned, one of my weaknesses was and is a lack of resources for startup. I don't have a lot of network connections when it comes to this type of field. Unfortunately, because of my environment and some of my experiences in life, I had to pause networking, where back in the day they used to say, show me your network and I'll show you your net worth. Unfortunately, that didn't apply to me because I took a different path, several different paths. So that became my weakness. Okay, I've had gaps in my job history. I've had gaps in my personal history, whether that's relationships or drugs, doing good, not doing good. I mean, you name it, I've tested the waters of every sea there is, and when it comes to life. And I started to find that my weaknesses aren't weaknesses. They're just rooms for improvement. They turned into opportunities. So how can I turn a lack of a network into an opportunity? How can I turn a lack of resources into an opportunity? And so I started to take the lack of resources, take the lack of networking, and apply it to myself by doing some research and development. So I started reading books. I started reading articles on LinkedIn. I started doing research and development on how to, what's the book? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The seven habits of highly successful people. And then I started to really dive into self-improvement. And in that discovery came self-discovery. I started to just discover parts of myself that I never really put two and two together before. And so then I realized, if I just learn how to read more and apply it to my personal life, whether that's communication, relationships, marketing, or developing a website, or building a business, I'll be successful eventually. And one of the biggest takeaways I have taken when I was diving into my weaknesses and reverse engineering them into qualities is a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And Darren Hardy says in his book, the formula for the compound effect is small, smart choices plus time over consistency equals radical change. So by making consistent, small, smart choices every day, in time, your growth will be exponential. I heard something the other day that blew my mind away, even though it doesn't apply to me personally, but it's very inspirational. Demi Moore, the actress, been in the industry of entertainment and acting for over 45 years. And after 45 years of work, she just was nominated for her very first award as an actress. Her very first award as an actress after 45 years. That's almost 5 decades. That's half of 100 years of mastering her craft. And other than like the obvious being featured in films or shows or whatever, as far as her career is concerned, that meant nothing. That's really just continuing to get the reps in. So this person had to wait practically her whole life to really see any fruition from the seeds that she's been planting and all the hard work she had been doing. So back to the reflection. I think when we come to a place where we're feeling lost or alone, you can turn your struggle into strength by simply reverse engineering your weaknesses or some of your weaker qualities, gauging where you are in the moment, and trying to see how you can turn that weakness into an opportunity. And so that's what I did. It's still a work in progress. It's still something that's going to take years. And yeah, with that, I hope somebody got something out of that. I hope you can take something away from that and apply it to your own life. And outside of that, let me know in the comments if you found value in this, if you think you could share this to somebody, maybe somebody else needs to hear this. And this can be conceptualized any way you want, right? I know it's kind of a violent language to say reverse engineer your weaknesses, but sometimes we need to be raw with ourselves and really just say, okay, what am I struggling with? Am I struggling with my relationships? Am I struggling with my connections? Am I struggling with communication, right? I had a friend and I met up and talked the other day, and they were discussing some of their trauma that they had been going through with a relationship, and they had said through conversation that they probably could have been a little bit better with communication. And I appreciated that vulnerability because they were taking accountability. And I think that's the starting point for everybody. So if you're going through something, if you're struggling with something, pause. Take a minute. Take a minute to just reflect on where you're at. Take a minute to gauge and really grade yourself, right? Something I like to do with clients is a wheel of life. You draw a circle and you make it into a pizza pie, and each slice is a part of your life. And you grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do you see yourself in this? Financially, with your family, with your relationships, with your career, right? How do you grade yourself in all of these categories? And then it's okay to have low scores. That's the point. That just means that is an opportunity. That is a space for growth. That is a place for you to improve in your life, because there's no such thing as perfection. Progress does not equal perfection. Progress just equals progress. With that, I'm going to drink and finish this cup of coffee, and I hope your day and the rest of your week is powerful and as strong and as good as this cup of coffee. Until then, take care.